From EuroPride to straight pride failing, here's the Nutter News. In Nutter News today, we first travel to Northwest High School in Grand Island, Nebraska, where their school newspaper has been canceled for the school year. Last April, they included the preferred name and pronouns of the writers under their individual stories. The school went in and changed their names and deleted their preferred pronouns before publication, including a trans writer the paper had, showcasing the student's dead name instead. In May of last year, they included a story in their paper on LGBTQ history in honor of Pride Month coming up. 3 days later, the school board notified them that their paper was officially shut down, and even the companies paying for advertising in the school newspaper would be notified that their contracts with the school paper were immediately terminated. In response, the school board vice president said, quote, "There were editorials that were essentially LGBTQ, and, quote, "There have been talks of doing away with our newspaper if we were not going to be able to control the content. Formal lawsuits are currently pending against the school for violating free speech laws." In other news, in February of this year, you might remember Governor Greg Abbott from Texas, seen here being the only one clapping for himself, ordered the parents who provide gender-affirming care for their trans children or who help their kids in any way should be charged with child abuse for some reason. But this month, in a newly obtained internal report, the Texas department who would investigate and charge parents with child abuse under Greg Abbott's order is having massive problems. Agency workers are quitting in record numbers, stating that their jobs were to protect the kids, and now Abbott is forcing them to push kids to suicide. So far, dozens of workers have quit, leaving the agency with a very few people left, and those that are left have sworn not to investigate the parents of trans children. In other news, users on 4chan targeted the Trevor Project, Crisis Intervention and Suicide Prevention Hotline this week. An anonymous user posted a plan to bog down the nonprofit's hotline with fake requests for help. Their goal was to, quote, "fuck up the queue so sodomites and F-words commit suicide, demoralize the therapist, and waste as much of their resources as possible." Other 4chan users started following the directions and started posting how, quote, "wait times to reach a counselor are higher than usual." Their posts are still available, and the Trevor Project is still dealing with the effects of this attack. If you would like to help, we have linked their website in the description of this video, where you can donate to them or become a counselor yourself to help LGBTQ kids and prevent suicidal actions. So please go ahead and check them out and help them. In other news, the far-right hate group called the Libs of TikTok started to attack the Children's National Hospital in Washington, D.C. this week after they went undercover and spoke to a phone operator at the hospital. The hate group posted blatant lies about the hospital, saying they perform surgeries on children in their gender-affirming care clinic. The truth is, the hospital does not do surgeries on anyone younger than 18 years old, but that didn't stop the Libs of TikTok hate group from sending their mob to the hospital anyway. The hospital has since been targeted with bomb threats and death threats. Physicians at the hospital are currently receiving so many death threats, harassing calls, and emails that the hospital had to hire extra security and give doctors training on how to deal with the threats. Twitter later suspended the Libs of TikTok account for a few hours, but after Twitter reinstated their account, the hate group keeps posting their blatant lies about the hospital several times per day, furthering the bomb and death threats to the hospital. In other news, the annual Straight Pride gathering in California turned violent for a second year in a row. Included in the gathering were hate groups called the Proud Boys, who are a neo-Nazi extremist group, and Super Happy Fun America, also a hate group. They were once again vastly outnumbered by LGBTQ people there to protest the Straight Pride event. Everything was peaceful until the hate group started assaulting LGBTQ protesters. Once the violence began, the police got involved, and the hate groups immediately hid behind the police as the police began shooting the LGBTQ protesters with pepper balls and beanbags. By the end of the scuffle, 2 LGBTQ people and 1 Proud Boy were arrested for failure to disperse. The police seriously injured 2 LGBTQ protesters and hit many others with batons. Last year, the hate group did the same thing in starting a fight, then immediately hiding behind the police before the police sprayed bear spray at LGBTQ protesters. Reporters from across the country came together and report the 2 hate groups starting fights across the country, then hiding behind the police. To many reporters, the police have now become the far-right hate groups' enforcers, regularly beating up LGBTQ protesters. So if the straight pride movement plans a gathering soon, it might be best to just stay away until the police are ordered to follow the law equally, as they always should have. In other news, EuroPride in Serbia was to be held from September 12th to the 18th this year, and was allowed by the European Court of Human Rights. The president of Serbia recently announced his plans to cancel the event after it had already been approved of, and after leaders from the Serbian Orthodox Church, a collection of right-wing hate groups and pro-Russian nationalists, said the event was a threat to traditional family values, whatever the hell that means. Organizers of the event are in a continued legal fight to hold their Pride event anyway, saying a police ban on the event would open the Serbian government up to lawsuits. After a government-sanctioned attack in 2012 against Pride goers, the event required heavy police presence. In a statement to cancel the event, the Serbian president said, quote, "It's not a question of whether extremists are stronger, but you just can't do it all at the same moment," claiming the hate groups want to hold a protest at the same time, and the Pride event, which was scheduled first, by the way, must be postponed to allow the hate groups time to protest. Since then, thousands of LGBTQ people have taken to the streets to protest the decision. In other good news this week, 2 wedding service companies in Pennsylvania teamed up to help LGBTQ couples get married for free. Ceremonies by Lori and Spirit of the Butterfly Wedding Services worked together to provide LGBTQ couples with a day of free wedding services, where couples could come and get married in an intimate ceremony without paying a penny. More than a dozen couples signed up to be a part of the event and were thrilled to tie the knot, and thankful to the 2 organizers who made it happen. If you see an LGBTQ news story happening you'd like us to cover in our weekly news show, tell us all about it in the comments down below. We would love to hear from you. Anyway, if you want to learn more about the LGBTQ community, check out this episode right here, or subscribe for weekly episodes. And if you like what we do and want some awesome merchandise, including Mr. Nutterbutters merch, go to pbrmerchstore.com. As always, I'm your host, Mr. Nutterbutters. Have a gay day, everyone, and bye for now. See you next week, everybody.